Hey, what's up, listeners and viewers of Strange Oddities Podcast? Welcome to another live episode. I'm excited because it's the holidays. I feel like celebrating. I'm in the festive mood for this time of year. As you can tell, I'm wearing my Santa hat, particularly for this special episode of Strange Oddities Podcast. I have a special guest. We're going to talk about Krampus. We're going to talk about the Black Forest Krampus Night. I hope I say it correctly. We talked about how to pronounce it, and I'm German, so I probably looked bad in front of my fellow Germans and my fellow countrymen over there. But anyway, I thought Krampus would be a cool topic to cover this week because it's the holidays. Krampus has become a really big thing. We're going to talk about the Black Forest Festival and what they do and all the festivities and whatnot. I want to give a big shout out to our co-producer of Strange Oddities Podcast, Debbie LaBelle. It's her birthday. Let's give a warm, happy birthday to Debbie LaBelle, our co-producer on the podcast. She works really hard on the side for me, trying to get guests lined up for the show. And she also helps do a lot of research whenever I need research. And she's a great researcher. So I want to give her a big round of applause. Everybody who's listening, let's give her a round of applause. Happy birthday, Debbie. Hope you have a great birthday. I give you a big kiss and a hug, but you're all the way down in Georgia, so that's kind of hard to do. Anyway, let me introduce this young lady we have tonight. I'm excited because, as always, I always try to have a unique, interesting guest with the topic every week, and I'm going to go ahead and bring her in here without hoping I don't lose her. Here we go. Yep, here she is.
Hello.
Hello. We have Marissa Strohlein.
Yes, you nailed it.
All right, cool. All right. Well, we're going to talk about everything Krampus tonight. I'm going to give her a little bit of background about Krampus for those who do not know what Krampus is. I have a little snippet here, if you don't mind, Marissa, before we give a little bit about you. I'm going to tell our listeners what Krampus is. And if you didn't watch the movie, there's a movie by Michael Dougherty that came out a few years ago. It was pretty good. If you guys want to get familiar with Krampus, that's one way to go. But Krampus is not a nice character. I mean, he's kind of like the enemy of Saint Nicholas. He's like the darker side of Christmas, so to speak. So it dates all the way back to the 12th century. Krampus is kind of like a half goat, half demon kind of half goat, half human demon kind of character. And basically, if children and people were naughty during the holidays, he would come and basically do bad things to them. He would punish them, drag them to dark and scary places, even to hell, or he would even eat them, as far as I'm reading here. So, the origin dates all the way back to Austria, if I have this correctly. Actually, I'm reading this off the History Channel, so I'm kind of adding my own stuff to it because I don't want to totally do plagiarism here, but I am reading it off the History Channel, history.com. And so, yeah, it dates all the way back to the 12th century. The origins and pagan celebrations, and basically some Christian religion and other religions kind of frowned upon the celebration of Krampus because of what it represented. We're going to get into that a little bit with Marissa. So, Marissa, let's give our listeners now a little bit of background about you. Now that I gave a little background about Krampus, I'm sure there's a lot more we can get into it with him. But how'd you get started with the Black Forest Krampus Night, right?
It started a few years ago when, in the town of Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, pretty last minute, a couple of local people were like, let's have a run of the Krampus, a Krampuslauf, as it's called. And they put out a little Facebook event saying, if you want to dress up and come, that would be great. And it was all very informal, and I got dressed up and I went. I didn't really know anybody in town. And as an extremely awkward nerd, I was just like, how better to get to make friends than to dress up like a scary alpine Christmas character? And the reaction from the public was crazy. It took me an hour and a half to walk like half a block to try and meet up with the rest of them, because so many people had showed up with their kids to take pictures, and it was a grand old time. So last year, the Carbon Chamber of Economic Development got in touch with me, and they were like, hey, would you like to make a more like official festival? So I got involved, and we had our very first ever Black Forest Krampusnacht in Jim Thorpe, PA, and it was a wonderful time. And I'm really happy with how it turned out, and we are hoping to do it again next year.
Nice. Very cool. So now, as far as the festival goes, I'm interested in learning a lot about it myself. I may even go to one. I don't know, because it's not that far from us. Jim Thorpe's a very historical area, if I'm not mistaken. And what are the festivities that you guys do during these festivals? I know there's dressing up, there's parades, I think, correct?
Well, traditionally, like if we're going way, way, way back in the day, young men would dress up in furs and masks and run around basically, drinking, and like they would have like little switches and sacks, and they would basically just chase the kids around and, just have fun. There's always the Krampus Lauf, which is of course the running of the Krampus. That's when everybody is just like, running around. We had a procession ourselves at our event. Mostly because it was our first year, I focused very heavily on involving local artists and their interpretation of the event. I actually have a prop. I have a piece that was made for our event. I auctioned off the artist's work. Next year, I'm just going to have like an art gallery for sale. It's very important to feed and pay your artists. Exposure is a cause of death, not a form of payment. Look at this beautiful piece by local artist Christine Rains. It's stunning work. Was one of many just incredible pieces we had. Many of them went off to happy homes. So I think we also decorated Kemmerer Park, which is an old Victorian park with a lot of great stone features with all natural. I foraged on my family's vineyard, Big Creek Vineyard, for the things that we use, like sumac buds and holly berries and grapevines and things like that. And the focus was just on being together, celebration. We had someone dressed as an old fashioned like Saint Nicholas, not just Santa Claus, to take photos with Saint Nicholas. We had the local library chipped in, and they did like a story time. We had a bunch of local kids dressed up as fairy tale characters, because the Black Forest that's where a lot of Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales are set. So we had the Evil Queen and the Big Bad Wolf and a bunch of people interacting with the crowd. So it was a really good time.
Yeah. Was there a lot of them dressed up as Krampus?
Yes, we had so many Krampi. We actually had one Krampus who had a very impressive costume, hand sewn. The mask was hand carved wood. It was stunning. He said that it was one of the most well attended he'd ever been to. I think we had something like about 40 people dressed up as Krampi, and it was, and it was incredible to see the spectrum of the different kinds of costumes. My personal favorite being someone who had this the horse skull, almost like the Mary Louise, and they had a little baby doll sack, and they had one stuck in the mouth. It was hysterical. It was really amazing. It was amazing to actually see the whole procession.
Sure. So. I mean, it's kind of like cosplay, but but a step up from cosplay, because they put a lot of their art into it, and their passion of Krampus and the festival itself. How many people attend? Because it sounds like quite a bit go.
It was so many people that we're actually we're thinking of ways next year to make it able to accommodate more people, because there were people who told us that they literally couldn't even get in for parking. Wow. We were blown away by the response. When I was throwing this, I was helping set everything up. I did the decorations and the art auction, and I did the graphic design and all that stuff, the social media, making Krampus memes, which was probably the most fun part. But you're just you're like a little kid throwing your birthday party, oh my gosh, what if no one shows up? But then we started getting crazy response online, and we were all kind of we were all kind of like, oh gosh, like what if it is kind of crazy? But it was still a really good time, but we were really blown away by the attendance.
Yeah, that's really cool. The festival, when did the festival start? Like what year? Like how long has it been going on for now?
Well, this was our actual first official year, aside from that year in 2019, like before, gestures broadly,
before everything,
like before that, we had the unofficial one where we ran around town, and I had to reassure, like, because some kids, a lot of kids like love Krampus, but of course there are some kids who are like, oh my gosh, and I would be like, no, you've been good. I can smell you've been good. Don't worry, we're cool, Devin. We're cool. Like reassuring kids, but we had a really great time. But the official festival, this was the very first one. Now I do believe, oh my gosh, okay. Krampus Night is traditionally, I believe, December the 5th.
Okay.
But we do it, I think we're going to try and do it the first Saturday of every December, because that makes the most sense logistically.
Sure. Right. Yeah, because it'd be hard to do it on the 5th, like depending on what day of the week that falls on.
Yeah. Not everybody can rock on a Wednesday.
Right, exactly. We all wish we could, but
yeah, I know the Beastie Boys fought and possibly died for our right to party. So
there you go. That's one way of putting it. And tonight we're partying about Krampus. So I'm doing a Krampus special on the Strange Oddities podcast. We're with Marissa Strohlein, and we're going to talk about the Black Forest Festival that does everything Krampus. That's coming up. There's a big event that they're going to start. And so like back in the day, like Christianity and Christians, some religions really frowned upon the celebration of Krampus and whatnot because of what it represented. Are those like drawbacks still there? As far as like religious folk, are they still kind of
Yes, you are going, if you throw an event like this or attend an event like this, do not be surprised if there are protesters. Do not be surprised if you receive pushback from the community. That's actually what originally happened to the festival many, many years ago. It's really funny when you're talking about the origin of Krampus. If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to actually share something that is from Tyrol, Austria. I hope I pronounced the name of that city correctly. In some regions, the figure of Krampus was merged with that of the Perched. The first Perchten appeared in Tyrol in the 17th century, while the earliest mention of Krampus or oh my gosh, I'm butchering this so bad, as they are known in East Tyrol, date to the St. Nicholas Games of the 18th century. In fact, it was not until the late 19th century that it became customary to claim that the Perchten drove out the evil spirits of winter. So basically, we do not have a very good recorded history of the origins of Krampus. But what we do know is that when missionaries appeared in the Alpine regions and saw young men dressed in terrifying masks, chasing people around with switches and, like all of that stuff, they were like, nope, no more of that.
Yeah.
So it actually started, I guess, falling out of favor. But for a long time, it was, Krampus was like a cohort of St. Nicholas. The relationship between them evolved and then like developed into the chains that you see people with Krampus wearing, like representing like the binding of the demons. So it's very interesting how, unfortunately, the true roots of this tradition have not survived. And all we have left are these little tendrils of myth that have been intertwined almost irrevocably with the church. So I do think that it's also very interesting that the region that I live in, there's Pennsylvania Dutch country, you have a lot of people who would have had historical family ties to those regions that celebrated this. So we actually have the Belschnickel. And if you've ever seen like The Office, like the episode where Dwight dresses as the Belschnickel, bells means fur and a nickel is like St. Nicholas. He's like an amalgamation of both of these characters. He's like this kind of like scary guy dressed in furs with like a dirty face. And someone would just dress up like this and they would show up at your house and they would interrogate the kids and be like, have you been good this year? Have you been throwing chestnuts? Have you been throwing snowballs? Have you been good? And he would reward you with like, nuts and candies or a little toy or something like that if you'd been good, or like he would give you like a piece of coal or like a switch if you had been bad. Mostly, I just think it's kind of fascinating how what we are seeing happen now is that in the modern day, people who desire to celebrate Krampus are actually evolving the myth themselves. I don't know if you've seen anything about the Sisters of we call them the Sisters of Silence at our festival. We're evolving the myth in our own way. But because women were not traditionally allowed to participate as Krampi, like they were not, from what we know, they developed this role of these ghostly white women of the forest that try to hush the crowds to prepare them for the coming of Krampus. You see more female Krampuses. So it's actually pretty interesting to see how we know so little about really where this came from, and we're actually watching the myth of it be evolved by people who are bringing it back and, you know, kind of paying honor and homage to this tradition that was stamped out.
Wow, interesting history there. Yeah, that was a great job, by the way. I would have botched that whole thing.
No.
Yeah, totally. The Germans would have been, not too happy with me.
I only have a German like last name. I actually like have a very small percentage of German. It's mostly like Sicilian, Puerto Rican, but I have like this like super German sounding last name.
Right. Yeah, you definitely have it more than I do. So I don't even try. I do try, but I sound terrible at it. But anyway, I'm German and Irish, and hence why I have such like red face and pale skin.
Yeah, I'm for all that I told you, my ethnicity is like I cannot catch it. I'm like literally pale, like the little tiny little bit of German Irish in there, like it make sure that I burn like a lobster if I'm even exposed to too many of the sun.
Yeah, somebody that can relate to me. Great.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I call it my Irish tan. But yeah, we're celebrating the holidays here in Strange Oddities Podcast. I have my eggnog. I'm rocking it here with Santa hat, and we're talking about everything Krampus. And what is your thought about the movie? Do you think the movie did the tradition of Krampus pretty good? Like it didn't really dwell too much into the origin of Krampus, but it kind of like gave you more of the character itself and what it was about and what it did to punish the children, and the myth of Krampus and what that portrayed. What do you think of the movie by Michael Dougherty?
I mean, it's a good time. Like a lot of people who are fans of Krampus are fans of the movie, and I think that it also doesn't need to bear the weight of being like historically educational or anything like that, because the truth is, when we examine like traditions like this or things that we're fascinated by, what we're really dealing with here is the concept of this like beastly creature that is not just like St. Nicholas, who is, rewarding the good, but he is punishing the bad. And also we have like a lot of even, like I even read in that history, like there's a lot of talk about how the original role was to maybe to banish the ghosts of winter. Is this like powerful, like terrifying figure. And I think like, it does make you wonder like what has brought up so much fascination with this and why it's like taking such hold like around the country and even around the world. Like they're becoming so much more popular, and like they're even being resurrected in their countries of origin, like even more.
Even in Germany, there's a big festival there where they have the parade thing, and they have these big like gigantic costumes, and they're amazing costumes. I don't know if you've seen them, but the amount of artwork and detail that goes into these things, it's like, it's just amazing.
Like that's what that brings you back to that question. Like, why are we all so fascinated with this? Is it just because we want Halloween on Christmas and in the night we'll wish it never ends? Is it because maybe there's like a pushback against this hyper commercialization of Christmas? Because when you actually like look into even like the history of the holiday, like Saturnalia, and like it was a pagan tradition, and it's about like like all of these like elemental facts of life. And when you even think about historically what winter meant to people, what like the solstice of like, the returning of light meant to people who survived winters, which would have been the most like brutal, like a third of the population probably kicked the bucket during winter back then. Like it's really fascinating to think like, why is this having this resurgence now? Because we have like I said, I do wonder about that. Is it a pushback against the kind of commercial aspects of Christmas? Is it because people are fascinated with all of these celebrations and things that have were like erased from existence for a time because they were frowned upon by the church? Or I like to think it's a little combination of all of it, and just people being fascinated with the darker side of mythos, you know?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And maybe in a way, now I don't know if you would agree, we can agree or disagree on this, but maybe religion in itself, not to get too deeply into religion, but some religion are a little bit open to like paranormal, supernatural kind of, things out there and the unexplained. And there are more people who are more open-minded, and maybe that's helping a little bit.
I definitely think so. And I also think it is, in a way, a form of like empowerment. Like when you're assuming a character, when you're getting into this costume, when you are like assuming this powerful role, I think that's like a really interesting aspect to it. And like I said, even like I said, when I said that there's like pushback against Krampus Night because there are a lot of people like, it's devil worship, it's the devil. That's actually so interesting, because if you actually like read the Bible, who they consider the devil, Lucifer, was like actually really beautiful. He was like the angel of music. Like he was like, he was described as being like inhumanly beautiful. That there isn't actually no, as far as I know, and I'm someone who like would be in a position to know, like this idea of like this scary goat man that we in our minds picture being the devil, that's not really, that's like kind of like a cultural creation. And you don't wonder if, a lot of missionaries went around the world and saw stuff like this and they were just like, I don't know what that is, but it's evil. Like, like I think it's just really I'm always very fascinated why certain things come into vogue culturally, and I think it's addressing a cultural need or a conversation that we want to be having.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree 100%. So, in the like going back to the movie a little bit, like when I was first getting into it, like I thought to myself, Krampus is kind of a hero to the kid of what was going on with his family, because his family treated this, young relative of theirs very badly. Like they picked on him, they bullied him. And in a way, if you think about it, like Krampus kind of was portrayed as an anti-hero kind of thing. And he was like going after the ones that bullied and were mean to him. But then at the end, you were like, oh, maybe not. It was kind of interesting though, like the way that part of him was portrayed.
Yeah, and I definitely do think it is like a little bit of like an anti-hero, because a lot of it is about like the naughty being punished instead of just the good being rewarded.
Right.
And I do think it's funny, like you said, that at the end it doesn't turn out as neatly as you think it would. But that also is a very good commentary on the nature of vengeance. Right. And then, like that desire to see punishment is also like a base desire.
Right.
That is like not, something, an aspect of humanity of which we should be particularly proud. Right. But you read the Facebook comment section on anything about like somebody being convicted of a crime, and they're just like describing the most terrible stuff they think should happen to this person. Yeah. It is obviously this like, so, that is so interesting, because I think a lot of like this, the spiritual energy surrounding this whole concept of Krampus is about punishment.
Right.
It's about evening this, like the evening of the scale.
Punishing the guilty.
Yes.
Like, like if
judgment.
We refer to, let's say, for example, another analogy, a good way of exampling what we're talking about is the anti-heroes in comic books. Like Venom, for example, is a very good, thing to compare to Krampus, because Venom was in the comics a big villain, but even though he was more of a villain just because he fought Spider-Man in the comic books, but in the movies, he's more of an anti-hero, and people like him, and people flock to that kind of character now, because it's not like dark doesn't always have to be dark. Like they're looking at him as more like a hero figure.
I think also what we are seeing happen, because like I too am very interested in the rise of the anti-hero. It seems like you can't get a single reboot without it being like the gritty anti-hero version. It's just like they're gonna come out with like a Care Bears movie. It's gonna be like they're out there caring and bearing, and like it's gonna be like hardcore like Care Bears version. But I feel like it's very interesting, because if you look traditionally at the media as it came out over the decades, for so long, media is like hyper-saturated with all the same kind of upstanding, stiff person. And so it was just this like the same man with a strong jawline doing the right thing. And like you see this evolution happening, and it's almost like on like a mass scale, like on a cultural level, we are kind of doing some sort of shadow work, because isn't it true that the kinds of stories that resonate with people, it's what they're identifying with, what they're going through in their lives. Like look at right now, like why do you think a show like Squid Game is so popular right now? It's because people feel like they're at the mercy of all of these like wealthy forces that they can never attain, and that their only shot at maybe making it big is like this. It's like you have to risk it all. Like it's very interesting and that's why I think that like sometimes like when like they mindlessly make the sequels and stuff like that and they fall flat, it's because it's like you are literally trying to have art is a conversation in ways, and you're trying to have a conversation that nobody's talking about that anymore. Like you don't have your fingers on the pulse of society and like what people are actually feeling and working through. And I think that like I think that like a lot of people are feeling like a little bit of like maybe that kind of like disillusion or like this darkness that has crept into this very sterile like 1950s Christmas idea of like the world, So maybe that's why this is all bubbling up from the frothy subconscious of the human mind.
That's why I brought it up, right? Because I thought like maybe that's also helping the more awareness or openness of Krampus and the festivals and the celebration of it, because it's not just about like the dark or the demons, it's about other stuff that goes with it, and that's what they're enjoying about it. And it's the celebrating of it, and it's being able, I think maybe also being able to maybe communicate or hang out with other people that are like-minded, and they're enjoying that part of it also, with being with other people that are okay with doing that, and they're not shunned by those things because of religion or culture, or so they're more comfortable now with doing these things with everyone else that are participating. So that's why there's more openness to it too.
There's also like a catharsis in like watching horror movies and like being in those environments. Because like when we had the Krampusnacht, it's not like this big terrifying event. It was a fun family thing. Like kids are playing, having a great time, taking selfies. Everybody's looking at each other's outfits. Everyone's in a great mood. Like there was no drama. There was nothing bad. It was just everyone really having a good time. And I think that it is interesting, the point that you made, like people finding other like-minded people who are not so much worried about like I said, it kind of blew my mind to see some of the comments from local people online being like, we must save the children of Jim Thorpe. We cannot allow this evil into our, and I'm just like, there is like kind of like that divide between people who are like, look, like the evils I perceive in the world are, we got local kids that are hungry, man. Like we got local kids that don't have anything under their tree for Christmas. Like we got local, like those are evils that some other people would consider like in the world. And then like you have other people. It's so funny how like the people who are so like fascinated by like this kind of stuff, they are not perceiving that as the source of all evil. They're agreeing with Stephen King. They're like, if you want to see the source of all evil, I'll introduce you to any stranger. Like, like and it's also maybe kind of like taking ownership of that and like actually addressing that within the shadow self, that like, that, I don't know. it was such like a good vibe. Like the people that showed up were real sweet, like awesome people. Like they were really nice people. And like we actually had a Toys for Tots drive, and we collected a bunch. We packed that big old box they gave us.
Wow, that's
I was
cool.
very, very touched by people's
Nice.
generosity.
Very cool. Yeah, I always commend anybody who does charities and things like that. Very commending. That's just awesome. But there are needy children out there. We do that where I work too. We do toy drives, and we do food drives, and all that good stuff. But yeah, but I think there's the one word that I neglected to throw in that description of what we were talking about is there's no judgment. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because people are like-minded that are doing that, participating in those things. They're not judging each other because they're all into it. It's like, so they're not afraid to like, oh, that's cool. Oh, I like that. And, and then that's how it,
just geeking out over the artistry of it, which is why like I really focused on making sure that like local artists were involved in like making all these really amazing installation pieces for sale and everything, because it is really incredible, like the care that people put into their costumes and just all of these different interpretations of a Krampus. Like the costuming was just amazing, and like they were all such wildly different interpretations. One of my absolute favorite ones was like a kabuki style mask.
Oh, nice.
Oh, it was so cool.
That sounds cool.
It was so cool. Like the costume I wear is actually like all white with like a moon globe and stuff like that, because
that's awesome.
Well, the truth is I got this like amazing like hand sewn 80s wedding dress with like these crazy shoulder pads. I'm like, I got to get some mileage out of this puppy. I found this in a thrift store and it's got to go somewhere. So that kind of became my Krampus outfit. But yeah, like, and it is like, honestly, like the times that I've gone, it's just like an expression of joy. It's just like people being goofy. No one's like being like aggressive or like horrible. Like, and it's just like a silly expression of joy. And frankly, I would make the argument that the elf on the shelf is about 10,000 times more disturbing than Krampus.
I like the crazy memes of the elf on the shelf. When you see, like, if you ever seen the movie Aliens, they have one where the aliens like are going on the like, it's hilarious.
Oh
yeah, some of the memes they have going on with the elf on the shelf is just funny.
Yeah, but like, let's be real. I'd rather deal with like Scary Goat Man like one day a year. That's a creepy little doll inside your house watching things you do, reporting back on it, moving around independently.
Yeah. You read my mind, because I was just going to say, what if one day, you're messing around with this elf and you're moving him around the house, right? Because that's tradition with the elf on the shelf. You have to move him around on certain days before Christmas, right? So what happens if he moves himself by himself and
that would make
touch him?
Whoever makes horror movies out there, if you made a horror movie, because you know how it would start, like both parents would be like, oh my God, Dan, that's so disturbing. Why would you do that? And then they're like blaming the weird elf on the shelf poses on each other. And then the horror sets in. It's possessed. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that's what I mean. Like, that thing creeps me out way more than the Krampus.
Like, you ever see the horror movie? I thought it's a classic for me. Probably showing my age, but Puppet Master.
Oh my God, yes, absolutely, yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
Horror movie.
Oh yeah.
And I can see like Elf on the Shelf movie kind of like that.
Yes. Why has no one, like, I feel like they have like dredged the bottom of the barrel for every movie idea. I'm like, how has no one done this? Somebody get on the phone. Let's make this happen.
I'm friends with producer Daniel Farrens, who produced and wrote Halloween 6. So Daniel Farrens, if you're listening, you can take credit for it if you like, but we're giving you the idea. Make this movie happen.
Yeah, because I'm sorry, but like they even have like this. They're very like, it's very like nostalgia, kind of like a 50s looking toy with those like wide staring eyes, and I'm just like, like, I don't know, man. Like if I was a little kid, I would be like, can we please never do this again? Like I've always, even from when I was little, like dolls have always creeped me out. Also, my age, I think people in my age group, the first introduction to a horrifying little doll were either the Chucky movies or the Tales from the crypt, or the R.L. Stein book with the freaking puppet. No.
Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah, that
No.
guy was creepy with the way the mouth was on the yeah.
Don't like that. I'm like a Christian missionary. Be like, don't like that. That's evil. That's scary.
Right. So, there's quite a few festivals all across the country, I believe, but it's globally expanding. It's all over different countries. We even talked about Austria and Germany. Austria, which I think is near Germany, if I have my map location correctly. Oh gosh, what are some of the big festivals that are in our country that are going on?
Philadelphia has one. New Orleans has one. They're cropping up all over the place. They're popping up like daisies. They really are, and that's actually really cool. So I believe, oh my gosh, was it from the New Orleans where when I talked about the Sisters of the Sisters of Silence?
Yes, I believe you're right. Yes.
Yeah. So yes, New Orleans. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to go there for a Krampus festival.
They,
I won't be able to. I'll be busy throwing mine. Gotta take a year off sometime.
Yeah, right. And New Orleans is on our bucket list as well, so I would love to go down there. But the voodoo stuff down there creeps me out.
I'm very fascinated by all different like forms of magic and folk magic and like cultural magic. So like I said, I've always been really fascinated by that stuff. Yeah. So that's something that I would love to, be able to see a lot of like the history and like all the different things. Because Jim Thorpe itself is actually like a paranormal destination. There's a lot of paranormal activity there. Like there's like a lot of famously paranormal sites.
Yeah.
But New Orleans, that takes the cake.
Oh yeah.
That's the destination if you want a vacation in the US somewhere with some spooky stuff.
Yeah. I definitely, we have to visit Jim Thorpe. We've always wanted to. Never been. Yeah.
Got to come to the old jail.
Yeah.
They got like they do really good ghost tours and everything like that.
Nice.
There's so many crazy stories. Like even just a buddy of mine, she took footage. She posted it on our group on Facebook, in the Experience Jim Thorpe Facebook group. We even shared it on our Black Forest Krampusnacht Facebook page of this sign that looks like someone's violently shaking it. And you can see all this other stuff around it, not being bothered by wind or anything like that. And this somebody's up there shaking it like a maraca. Wow. And there turned out to be like a little bit of a backstory as to like how the person who had owned that property had previously passed or something like that. But like, it was very interesting. It was very, very interesting. Like I said, you never know, maybe it could have just been like crazy wind, but there is like, there are a lot of like really interesting like paranormal stories, and like a lot of people who like work locally, like certain places will tell you like, yes, the place I work is totally haunted. We got a work ghost.
Nice.
Yeah, like you don't have enough to deal with the work. You got to deal with the work ghost.
Yeah, right. But that's cool. Very cool. What else do we have here? We are at 8. I'm just checking the time because we only do the show for an hour. I want to make sure we get everything in there. Can you please show our audience and listeners that piece of artwork again?
Yes, I can. Hold on.
Yeah, what is that made out of? Because this is really, really awesome looking.
This is, I believe, glass.
I was going to say,
Look at that. I'm trying to zoom out a little bit. Here we go. Look at that bad boy. We had that above the bandstand so that everybody could see it and like look up close. The detail work is just unbelievable.
Is it thick? Like,
yes, look.
Yeah. Wow.
Look at the sides. Christine Rains. She has a business that she calls Teeny Pieces. Teeny, Teeny Pieces. And look, she signed the back.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. Very cool.
I was
very
blown away.
Yeah, that's just really awesome art.
That just goes to show you, like, anytime you're doing something, give local artists a chance to make something and sell their work and like make money off of their work, because they will blow you out of the water. Like I was so impressed with all of the work that our local artists brought to the table. I was like, I
Right.
couldn't believe it. And it really added so much magic to the whole event. It really did.
Right. So if a person who's never been to your festival, and what are things can they expect? Like if it was their first time coming, what are some of the things that they look forward to finding out?
Seeing a lot of people in costume. We definitely want to still keep up the tradition of having a bunch of different fairy tale characters and Krampi that are interacting with the audience throughout the event. We really liked having the storybook hour with the library where they actually had like character actors like act out like different versions of fairy tales and things like that. We had the Krampuslauf, which is the running of the Krampus, where they run all through the crowd. Oh gosh, I almost flung my thing off. We this is Pennsylvania Dutch country, so we had to have polka. I'm sorry, it's necessary. It's 100% necessary. And we had like, we had a big Toys for Tots drive because it is really important to make sure things like that are, if you're doing something community minded. The art was like a huge part of it that I'm going to definitely incorporate going forward. Of course, is having like local artists make their offerings that are on theme for the event. People loved it. Right. In the future, I am hoping to either incorporate something like a Yule ball, nice. Or even like a haunted walkthrough or like a haunted house kind of experience that's Krampus themed. I know, be my dream. I'm hoping that would be so great.
You guys, will you have like vendors?
Oh yes, absolutely. And we always make sure that they're handcrafted vendors. This is not like mass-produced stuff. Like these are people who we had amazing vendors. My secret favorite though was this guy, this company that made root beer. They made butterscotch root beer.
Wow,
that was criminally good. Yeah. So like next year, now that we proved ourselves, because like we have a lot of people interested in vending and stuff. Next year, I really want to focus on having a lot of like authentic, like German and like Bavarian, and Alpine, and Austrian foods and things like that. Nice. So,
yeah, maybe we can bring the German beer festival over there.
We had a beer and wine garden. Your girl owns a Big Creek Vineyards. We have a winery, so we made sure to have like a beer and wine garden. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, maybe you can bring like a wine tasting there or something.
Oh yeah, we absolutely did. We had my gosh, like I said, we were so surprised by how many people came. I know that they like we were really like amazed at like I know I had prepped everybody with this giant container of we call it spiked apple pie. It's our spiced apple wine with ginger brandy. Nice. And I was just like, all right, that's like 5 whole gallons. Y'all are gonna be good. By 2:30 it was gone.
Yeah.
Just gone.
I can't imagine. It sounds so good. So I'm there just for that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's awesome. So guys, I'm with those who are joining us late. I like to just throw this in there because sometimes we get people who come in later on. But I want to plug Miss Marissa Strohlein from the Black Forest Krampus Night, right? Krampus Night.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. That's the bad German in me. So where can they find information about the festival? Do you guys have a website or like?
Yes, we do. JimThorpe.online/Krampus.
Okay.
Or you can go on Facebook, Black Forest Krampusnacht. We have a Facebook, we have an Instagram, we have a TikTok, we have all of that good stuff. But all of the updates about future things, you're going to be probably looking at our Facebook page. So right now we are, the wheels of government turn slowly. We're like in the application process to do it again next year and making some changes. So fingers crossed, we'll be announcing the date for 2022.
Right. And it's mainly outdoors, right?
Yes, it is outdoors. Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. And what are tickets like?
We do not charge admission.
Really? Wow.
No, we do not. We do not charge admission.
My motto, if it's free, it's for me.
Yeah. So
that's awesome. Wow.
Well, yeah, and you want to, sometimes you just need to be able to go somewhere and see a bunch of neat stuff, and maybe only spend a couple dollars on like a churro, like I kind of do feel like it's kind of like, man, like everything costs $10 million nowadays. Like, so I'm hoping that we can, always do that going into the future. That's free to attend.
Right. That's awesome. That's like the first thing I've ever heard free these days.
It's cool. True.
Yeah, it is. But I'm gonna share. You have a Facebook page. I'm gonna go ahead and share it because I can share the screen on here too. Check this out, guys. All right, ready? Let's see. As long as I don't mess it up. Here we go. Share screen.
Oh, I just noticed there's light up things for your Santa hat.
Yeah, I know. Well, believe it or not, I have a green screen behind me, so this background is not real. It looks real, but it's cool looking that it looks so realistic. But it's taking away the lights in my hat.
Oh my gosh. Honestly, I do feel a little silly because I did think that was real. I was like, wow, I need to step up my backdrop. Look at that shelf. I would just make sure there's no dog toys in the line of sight before we got on here.
All right. Can everyone see this? There you go.
Yep. That's our Facebook page. And I had a lot of fun doing the logo, illustrating the logo, even though I unfortunately did not pull any punches, making them look super scary. But
no, very artistic. It's very nice.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, the merch went really well. We're trying to like get more of that out there with like the full logo. I made one that said Krampus Bay. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I'm actually all right, let's see. As long as I don't lose us. All right, there we go.
Oh, you're back. I see you.
Yeah, all right, cool. No, not that.
Okay, I was like, oh, that's like a Ren and Stimpy close up of me, sir. I wasn't ready.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I haven't shaved in a while. I got my my winter beard growing here, so.
Oh, don't worry. I got my pandemic mustache going real good. Yep.
Oh man, but I'm having a good time here with our guest Marissa Strohlein.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you have coming up you want to share with our listener? Anything that's related to your festival you want to share or plug? Go right ahead. And I don't know. I froze.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
You still hear me though, right?
I can still hear you. You're just like stuck like that. But well, for people that did attend the last year, we listened to everybody's ideas and feedback and everything, and I'm going to work really hard on making sure that the festival is even more accessible to people, and just adding a whole bunch of fun stuff for next year. And I really want to, just like ramp up the creativity. I had a lot of fun doing like art installation stuff. Like we did, like a dear friend of mine and my friend Danielle actually made beautiful little fairy furniture for us, and there are all these beautiful crevices in the rocks in the park, and we put them in there with little fairy lights, so like you could find little fairy homes and things like that. And I just really want to expand on the good Jim Henson-esque fun for next year.
Yeah.
And I honestly want to maybe do like a live costume contest.
There you go. That'd be cool.
Yeah, because the costumes were just unbelievable. Though I think Susquehanna Valley Krampus, if you go online and look up Susquehanna Valley Krampus, he would just clean house. I don't think anybody could beat him. Like, he's just too good. So yeah, like look him up. Like his costume is actually, he told me the mask was like hand carved wood. Absolutely stunning costume.
Nice.
I was blown away by some of the costumes there. Definitely.
Yeah. I can't wait to attend one. I definitely plan to. There we go. We unfroze finally.
Oh, there you go.
Wow, that was weird. And see, now you see.
Yeah, now I see your green screen.
Wow, look at that. At least we didn't lose the show. That's the main thing.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Sorry about the glitch there, guys. That's podcasting for you. You guys know all that too well. It comes with the territory of doing streaming live, because that's what happens. But maybe it's Krampus's fault. I don't know. But we've been trying to give Krampus a good name here. So I can't blame him.
Right. Yeah. Either that or like you wouldn't want to.
No, exactly. But
Oh,
but I had a great time here. I hope I was a great host.
oh, you were.
Yeah, it was tough finding a guest. Like I was telling everybody and telling my guests that it's the holidays and it's tough finding somebody close to the holidays to schedule on the show. And like I reached out to other festivals and whatnot, and you were the only one that were like available. So I was like,
Oh, of course.
yeah. So I was
What a
like,
great thing.
yay! But I hope everybody was okay with me wearing my Santa hat tonight because I wanted to be in the festive mood. I wish I was wearing a Krampus costume, but I don't know if that would quite work out.
Oh yeah, it would probably be like I will tell you this. I when you are wearing like the big mask and stuff, you're just like
Yeah,
like you're trying to navigate the festival.
yeah. It's bad enough that I fit in this little box on the screen. But yeah, no, it was great. Any special plugs you want to give anybody, like shout out or feel free.
I would just like to say that I'm glad that we are seeing an evolution of this myth. It's actually fascinating to see in real time people kind of like taking back those more interesting winter traditions and just having fun and celebrating with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Well said. I want to wish everybody a happy holidays, a happy new year. Hopefully next year is bigger and better for everybody. We hope that things get better for everybody as far as the situation out there with COVID, and we're gonna end the show here. But Marissa, stay with me. We'll say our goodbye after I, tell our listeners about next week and whatnot. Um, but I hope everybody enjoyed our lovely guest tonight from the Black Forest Krampus Night. I'm close enough. So I hope you had a great time on the show. I know I did.
Thank you.
All right, great. I'm gonna minimize you if you don't mind. You'll still hear the show.
All
Just won't
right.
hear me talk. All right, here we go. Um, guys, it's the holidays. You know me. I'm very patriotic. I just want to make sure that I take the time to send our best wishes to the men and women who serve our country. All the EMTs, the doctors, the nurses, the soldiers. The fallen. The wounded, all the wounded warriors. All the policemen, the firemen. Nurses and anybody out there that works in the emergency industry. Thank you to my bottom of my heart. I'm just so thankful to things that you guys do. I'm blessed that we have people like that to fight for our freedoms and be there for our communities during these hard times. And I just want to say that to everybody, guys. Happy holidays. Next week, there's going to be no show, obviously, because it's Christmas. But I come back January. No, I come back January 6th. I'm gonna have former MSNBC anchorman Alan Boyle on the show. Alan Boyle used to work for MSNBC. Now he works for a science blog, and we're gonna have him on the Strange Oddities podcast on January 6th. 8 p.m. Eastern Time, live here on Strange Oddities Podcast. So I can't wait for that. We have a big month in January. We're going to have Alexandra Holzer, the daughter of famous original ghost hunter Dr. Hans Holzer. That's his daughter, Alexandra Holzer. And they had the show Holzer Files. I've had her on the show before with the actual Holzer Files team, but now I'm just having her on the show. Who else do we have? We have Eric Shawn, anchorman of Fox News. Yes, believe it or not, Fox News is going to be on the Strange Oddities podcast. Can't wait for that. We're going to talk about Jimmy Hoffa. We're going to talk about his book, Exposing the UN, stuff like that. Let's see. What else we have? We have Jeff Bellinger, the writer and researcher for Ghost Adventures. You guys know the show Ghost Adventures on the Travel Channel. Jeff Bellinger is, among other, he does a lot of other things than Ghost Adventures. He's also an author, and he also has another show out, I think, called New England Legends, I believe on PBS or one of the local channels. So we have a big month on Strange Oddities Podcast in January. That's next year. It's right around the corner. Can't wait. I'm rambling because I'm excited, and my guest has to go home, and she wants to go relax. So I'm gonna go say goodbye to her. And guys, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. Be safe. Have a healthy, happy New Year, and be well, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the very Krampus special on Strange Oddities Podcast. Thank you, guys. I'm gonna play our video here.